before starting, I would like you to tell your story from being from IIT KGP student to a business analyst at Flipkart. My next question would be, how much finance knowledge is required for this role, according to you?
Oh, again, so again, I would say that depends on the industry, right? If you want to become a business analyst in an investment bank, then yes, you will need to know finance. In fact, I think the entry level position that IIM graduates get after completing their MBA, mostly in finance, although I'm sure there are a few exceptions as well, but most of them who complete their MBAs in finance are the ones who are hired as business analysts in investment banking firms. So investment banking firms don't usually come to technical colleges for business analyst roles. However, if you are going to a non-finance related field, then I don't think a lot of financial knowledge is required. Although I think a, a lot of basic knowledge about how finance works is anyways covered in most curriculums. I think most of you at some point of time in your 4 years would encounter terms like time value of money, would encounter terms like profits, revenues,
Yeah,
costs. Right? These
definitely,
are just
very true.
very basic definitions, right? I think
Yeah, yeah,
for as long as you're capable of understanding the concepts, you don't really need to get into the
yeah.
details of how
Very
finance
true,
really
very
works, what are the different theorems. You do not need that for any business analyst role other than in a particular industry that desires that role, right? So again, when you're applying for these jobs, you would have a very clear job description given to you. I'm not sure what the current procedure is, but I think in the ERP portal, for at least for the KGPNs, you will get a very clear job description and what the requirements for the job are. And for most
true.
business analysts, you won't need advanced financial knowledge.
I want to ask that how much resume does the plays important role in this? For applying off campus, resume is the major element. How
Right.
to differentiate resume from others, or there is a lot of competition there. Many people are from trying from tier two, tier three colleges also. If you are from
Right.
tier three, then you have to apply. Tackle with tier one college out there. So how can you differentiate your resume?
Yeah. So
Because
I
many
think,
of them get rejected because of resume only.
right. So I think, uh, so yeah, I think a good way to put it would be to not try to differentiate your resume, right? I think the way this works, right, the way the whole selection procedure works, I agree, it's not as efficient as we'd like it to be in an ideal world. But the reason why it's not efficient is because there's a lot of people who apply for these jobs, right? There's a lot of people who want that job. There's a lot of competition, right? So the idea is, how, again, if you want to apply for something, right, you, let's say, applying for with a CV or an SOP or a cover letter or anything is essentially giving a test, and if you pass that test, you get selected for an interview, right?
Yeah, very
How
true.
do you prepare for a test? You prepare for a test based on the syllabus. You look at what does this person want me to know, right? And
Yeah,
then you prepare for that test and you give that test and you qualify,
yeah,
and you go forward. And it's exactly the same with CVs and resumes and cover letters, right? You have to know what does your employer really want, and you have to ensure that those are things that are
yeah,
included in
very,
your
very
CV.
true.
That's number one. Number two is just a very practical advice, right? A very practical advice. Uh, when you are applying with your CV, either through the ERP, either through the campus placement procedure or through off-campus placement procedures, as you said, your CVs are extremely important. But the problem is,
Yeah,
per CV, the time spent by a person, browsing through one CV would not be more than 10 seconds on average.
yeah,
So for a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of CVs, it would be less than that. For a lot of CVs, it might be more than that. But on average, you can assume that 10 seconds would be the time that is given to one CV when they're browsing through it. So your job when making that CV, just from a very practical perspective, is to ensure that it's very clear, that it's not very cluttered, that you do not make a CV where I open a CV and I look at it and I don't know where to look, like what does my eye see in that CV. You have to be very clear in your structure. You have to be very clear in highlighting the important parts, so that if you were given 10 seconds to browse through a CV, you would see those few most important parts of the CV and then select it. So just keep that in mind
very,
when you're creating a CV, right? I think the general standard formula of making a CV is to have very simple, very clear three sections. It's education, experience, and others or extracurriculars. So in education, you write about your educational achievements, your degree, your GPA, etc. In work experience, you write about your work experience, past jobs if you don't have past jobs, and your internships. And then finally, you write your extracurriculars, right? I think in colleges, however, there's if you go through it with the CDC portal, etc., with your respective colleges, and they probably would have pre-prepared templates. So you'll probably have to use
Yeah.
those. But in general, keep this basic structure in mind.
My next question would be like, does CGPA also plays the role? Like, it is really that much important, or it's just a passing criteria? Like, you for getting into that, you have just that minimum percentage or something like that.
Right, right. Okay. So I think that again is a very company dependent question, right? A lot of companies have very relaxed metrics for GPAs. A lot of companies don't. They have very strict metrics for GPA. So again, it depends on what company you're applying to. But I think for most companies, if not all companies, most companies use CGPA as a cutoff criteria. So even when they come to campus, even when they take their tests, a lot of them would have criteria, but they'd be basic cutoff GPA criteria. So they'll say, okay, we are only going to allow people above a 7.5 GPA to write our tests. We are only going to allow people above an 8 GPA to write our tests. So your CGPA does play a role, and the reason why it plays a role is because they also want to judge you on how disciplined you've been for the past 4 years, 3 years, whatever. But again, it's not a deal breaker in the sense that if your GPA is above a basic cutoff, it's not going to affect your candidature for any particular role. So again, a very company specific criteria.
Yeah, yeah. Like most of us are doing engineering, the major thing that our seniors tell us that don't focus that much on making percentage, have fun or something like that. We always get such weird advice from our seniors that, okay, don't do that much, don't do this much, have fun in
Yeah.
hostel, like do our community work first. It will greatly enhance your CV. So something, if you have want to share with our viewers, like
Yeah.
any weird
So
advice.
I would genuinely agree with a better part of it, right? I think you should have fun. You should have a story to tell after you've gone from college, because trust me, college is not just about placements. So if you've consistently been worrying about placements and not doing fun things simply because you were worried about not preparing enough for placements, then you're going wrong, right? I think don't just let your entire college life, even for an entire year or 2 years, be about placements. Placements के लिए prepare for a few months, and that too for some time, a day before the placements or the internship procedure start. But yes, don't compromise on your college life simply because you want a job or anything. When it comes to CGPA, I think again, right, it's not very difficult to maintain a GPA of at least above 7, even if you're invested in about 20 activities outside your academics, right? It's not very difficult for an engineering student who has cleared the JEE, or even who has prepared for the JEE, to be able to maintain a GPA that is north of 7. And I think if you're north of 7, then almost 80-85% companies would allow you to write their tests, would allow you to sit for their interviews. So that covers a large chunk of the companies that you'll probably be targeting for
Yeah,
the campus
very
placements,
true,
etc.
very
So
true.
again, don't compromise on your college life for placements, please. But yeah, just make sure that you don't just completely slacken on your preparations to the point where your CGPA drops below the danger zone, right?
If a student from tier 2 or tier 3 college, can how can they apply? Like, they have not so much opportunity, like Flipkart doesn't come into their campus, or how can they apply for an off campus? Any trick, or any pro tip that you want to give, or any suggestion?
Yeah, I would suggest 2 to 3 things, right? First of all, get out of the zone that tells you that you're a tier 2 or a tier 3 college, and that's why you won't be able to do it. I think
Very
if
true.
you're capable enough, any company would take you in if you can show them in an interview that you have the capabilities, that you have the merit, right? If you don't, then regardless of your college, they won't take you in, right? Flipkart rejects a lot of IITians in their interviews as well. That's the one thing that you take
Very
away
true.
from
Very
any
true.
company that comes
Very
to an
true.
IIT. Rejects
Very
about
true.
80 to 90% people that they interview, right? So they're rejecting IITians as well. So even if you're from a tier 2, tier 3 college, it doesn't matter what your college is, for as long as you can land up in an interview. So now the question is, how does a person who belongs to these colleges land up getting an interview? Because as you said, these companies might not come to tier 2, tier 3 colleges, right? So first part of the problem is solved. Don't stop thinking about the fact that you're from a tier 2 or a tier 3 college. Just go for the interview and prepare yourselves and give that interview to the best of your abilities. And if you're good enough, you'll get in. It's as simple as that. That procedure remains agnostic of your college. The problem is getting an interview in the first place, right? That if your college doesn't have the kind of avenues that you probably want, or there is a particular company that you want to target which doesn't come to your campus, then the only way to do it is through networking, right? That's the only good reliable solution, which is create a very good and a very professional LinkedIn profile. Start connecting with people who belong in that field. Start sending them messages saying, hey, I need some advice, or I need a few inputs from you, or just wanted to get to know the field that you're working in better. Just send messages, send it across to 20, 25, 30, 50 people, as many people as you possibly can. And about at least some of them would then reply back, then they would respond. Then you can at least have a communication channel with people who are sitting in those companies in those kinds of roles or similar kinds of roles, right? And then you can, through them, you can try to, try to get an idea of how or what the best way for you to apply to those companies would be. So in the absence of a direct channel that is provided to you through your college, your best bet, if you want to end up in those particular companies, is networking, is just having those kinds of contacts. And the way that you build those contacts, if you don't already have them, if you already have them, well and great, just use them. There's no problems with using your friends or family members as contacts to get a particular job or internship. That's a great way to get into these companies if you do not belong to that kind. If you do not belong to IITs or let's say the top few colleges. Even if you are from tier 2 or tier 3 and you don't have those kind of contacts, just get on LinkedIn, build a good profile, and start pinging people.
Very true. Even I have seen many people from tier 2, tier 3 having skills, and from LinkedIn they have achieved. But I want to ask us a follow up. Like, does cold emailing work? Like, if you are the recruiter and if I'm sending cold emails, from like how you differentiate between, and if you are getting two cold emails, how will you differentiate?
Sure. So I think cold emails, in my opinion, are a slightly outdated formula, for the simple reason that most companies now, to streamline the process of hiring, have made everything online, right? They have put up their application portals online. So if you want to apply for any company, you would already have a portal online on their website. You will have a career section. You can go there and you can apply for certain job or job openings that already exist there, right? So I think cold emailing doesn't really work, because even if you go ahead and mail a particular person that you may or may not know, they'll just tell you, bro, we have this particular opening, apply through our portal. They'll send you a link saying, please apply through this portal or whatever, right? Or they may not even read your mail because they have 1,000 other mails to read in a day, and you can just keep mailing them again and again, and that may not even be something that they have seen so far, right? So it's a very inefficient process. I think a better way to do this would be either to just apply and then text them on LinkedIn, or as you said, mail them, or if you have their phone numbers, call them and just tell them that, look, I've applied through a portal, please consider my application, etc. If not, then get to know somebody within the company who can probably either recommend you for the job, or at least get you in touch with the right kind of people, right? Get you in touch with the particular HR POC who will probably be able to respond to your query. So again, I don't think just directly mailing people, copying, pasting mails would work very efficiently.
So, if someone wants to get a referral from you, so what process he should follow? Like, how should he message you? What thing you would see that, this is the person I think
Send me a check.
I would give.
Yes. No. So very similar, right? Very similar process. Just if you know me through any other social media platform, at least for me, that works as well. But a general advice would be, when you don't know people and you want to connect with them, a more formal approach is more advisable, right? So a platform like LinkedIn would probably be better than a platform like a Facebook or WhatsApp, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Don't just ping people on Facebook saying, hey, I'm your friend, let's befriend each other on Facebook and then give me a job. That would probably be less professional
Disaster.
than connecting with someone on LinkedIn. And when you do, then you can just ask them, these are the particular inputs that I want from you, and I request you to recommend me for this
Yeah,
particular
yeah,
role that I've shortlisted.
yeah.